Everyone stand up for a minute. I know you guys have done this a lot, but go in between speakers. Shake it out. Get some energy going. I'm going to ask you guys to visualize some stuff as we go through. So want to walk through this exercise real quick before we get to visualization. We did various forms of this over the last couple days, I think. But if you've had a traumatic life event, considering suicide, depression, family issues, any of those other items, business loss, divorce, please sit down. Okay. Can I get the volume? All right, thanks. For those left standing, raise your hand if your life's perfect. Perfect. Everything you want. All right, sit down. All right, so we're going to walk through some visualization, right, and how to get you to that perfect life. Also going to walk through some items that most folks aren't aware of, even though the vast majority of us in here are in real estate, as far as how you can invest, how you can create the income that you want outside of rev share, right? I know a lot of us EXP rev share, but not really going to hit on that. But how you can create income that you want in your life so that you can live that life that you want, right? That's really, as you've heard the last few days, right? Money can be used for good or evil, right? It's a tool, just like anything else. And so in your life, it's really just a vehicle, right? We demonize money in society. We don't talk about money in society. We don't talk, except for these types of forums, about money in business, right? That's just not allowed in our society for whatever reason. Folks will go off and talk about keeping up with the Kardashians and who's making out with who and all these affairs and everything else, but we don't talk about money. And money truly has a huge impact on our life. And so why don't we talk about it, right? Why is it that money is seen as such a negative thing? And I think some of that plays into the media. Some of it's probably because of how we grew up. Maybe we didn't have money. Maybe we had too much, right? But it's issues that we had along the way. And so hopefully walking through some of these exercises will help free yourself of those issues so that going forward you can see it for what it is, for the tool that it is to create the life that you want, to bless others. That's really all it is. All right, so I'm going to talk about investing in yourself. I'm not really going to talk about real estate in general. I know this is a real estate in the VA conference. I think most of us in here, again, like has been talked about over the last couple days, know what we need to do. A lot of it's whether or not we're going to take action to do it, right? So you don't necessarily need to be trained on a new thing on how to do stuff in your business. But again, going back to the money piece and everything else, mental health, all of that, I don't think we talk about our personal lives enough. I don't think we talk about our issues, right? And if you don't talk about your issues, you can't fix them. They're yours. They're bottled up. They're not shared with anyone. Why are we here? We're at a business conference to talk about ideas to help solve our business, right? Dan Beer up on stage, $600+ million. Think you can learn a thing or two from him? Sure, in business, but in life too, right? I didn't know. He's one of my mentors. I didn't know until yesterday when he started in business, he sold 8 homes. Guess what? Our first year, we sold like 2. Yet, we've got a killer business now, right? We could have given up. We could have just let that be it and said, this isn't for us, let's move on to something else, right? We've all had failures. That's what the exercise was for everyone standing up. We've all had failures in one way or another in life. For those that stood up till near the end and said, hey, I got it, it's great, no traumatic events, great. But you also admitted you don't have the life today necessarily that you want to have, right? And so with that is a failure. If we're being real with ourselves, that's your goal. You are not meeting the goal. All right, so my past. I'm not perfect. None of us are, right? So from my past and where I came from, I could have easily given up too. I came from a broken childhood. I came from a mom and dad that got divorced when I was 9 months old, okay? Lived in 5 states by the time I was 16. That sort of shaped who I am, right? So your past does somewhat have an influence on your present and future. That made me an extrovert. I moved around to a lot of schools. You want to be friends with people, you got to be outgoing, right? I moved literally from Southern California, Burbank, playing football. Football is top-tier sport in Southern California, right? To upstate New York when I was 16. Couldn't be more different, right? Southern California, very diverse, had friends on the playground teaching me Spanish and everything else and all the bad words and all that other stuff, right? Upstate New York, I had 2 black kids in my high school. That's it. We had racism was rampant in the high school. You had racism, stuff written on lockers and everything else. Completely different environment. right? And I could have just given up, been like, this is just how it is, right? We all have those choices that we have to make. So again, moved around a lot. 2002, so you saw from the video, still active duty. So I'll retire out here in the next 6 months or so. So appreciate all our military folks that we have in the crowd. I know we have a decent amount. Today is Armed Forces Day. So appreciate the military. We've got an EXP military education event coming up this week. I'll be hosting a panel on how to build wealth using VA financing, right? That's very important, very near and dear to my heart. But 2002, no money, right? My dad moved us to upstate New York. I applied to one college, like a stupid kid. Got accepted to that college, but had no money, right? And so my only option was either go back on what my goal was, walk away from it, admit defeat, or go do something that, honestly, at the time, I really had no interest in doing, which is ROTC and military, right? So I came in, went through 5 years of that, commissioned out, had a plan to do 4 years. I failed at that plan, right? 19 years, almost 20 years in now, about to retire. That was not my life plan. So my life did not go as expected. On top of that, 2008 in Florida, had a cheating spouse, came home one day, 90% of household goods are gone. Left for work 9 o'clock in the morning, everything's cool. Come home, everything's gone, passwords changed, stock accounts cleared out, jewelry taken. I mean, life reset down to zero, right? Went through a bankruptcy in 2010, stemming out of the divorce to get rid of the marital house and marital assets. That reset my life, right, and allowed me to let go of those items and start building again. Tasha and I met around that time, so August of 2008. Married in 2010, 2 years to the day. Been married since, obviously. Very happy marriage, very good business partnership as well. And there's challenges with that, guys. I mean, we'll probably speak on a different panel for married in real estate, right? I mean, there are a lot of challenges working with your spouse. You know, for the individual that said earlier, hey, I want my husband to be the integrator soon, right? Like, that's great, as long as you work well in business, right? There will just be hurdles. I mean, we had hurdles for the first 3+ years probably figuring out our roles, right? Once you figure that out, though, it's beautiful, right? I don't have to leave my wife now to go to work. 2019. All right, so this is what changed for me and where I'll start talking about some other stuff at the end. But we had a triplex in Jacksonville. We started real estate investing, bought a small property all the way across the country. For whatever reason, that was a great idea. A great cap rate. But after we got the property, even though we did all our due diligence and stuff, about 4 weeks later, we found out that there was a crack house down the street. Not the type of property I want to go collect rent at, right? So when we looked at it long term, that was not a legacy property for us. Now, our investor that we brought in on that deal decided he liked the property. He was 2 hours away. He bought us out 2 years later. It worked out great. But we don't do small multi anymore. It's not our focus. We help our clients with it when it's owner occupied, but it's not where we're going. So we'll talk about that as well. And then my background, so I've spent 2 years now, 2 years plus, doing financial analysis of apartment deals. So underwriting apartments to figure out what the offers are, to take down and figure out investor returns. I spent a year cold calling, getting hung up on by every secretary across the U.S. as I'm trying to reach the apartment owners, right? That's not a fun feeling when you're waking up early in the morning to make those calls. And then just networking with folks that are buying apartments. And so that's where my experience comes from. All right, so mindset real quick. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. All right, this goes back to Henry Ford, right? Building the first automobile. And they failed many times. They could have stopped, right? But they didn't. And what do we have today? Almost everyone's got a vehicle all across the country, all across the world. So from my perspective, as you walk through this, mindset's everything. There was a discussion yesterday about the 3 frogs in a log, right? One made a decision to jump off. How many are left? And I think all of us probably thought 2. But the speaker was right. 3, right? It made a decision. It didn't act. So if I take that back one step, to me, mindset is the frame that you put yourself in before you make the decision to take the action to build the life that you want. So to me, it's the most critical piece. That's where it all starts. That's your foundation. If you're talking about a house, your house has to have a solid foundation, right? That's where we start with this. So the first step that you have to do, recognize anything's impossible. Now, I don't have time to go through the whole exercise, but if you want to at some point, great exercise to go through. Sit down for 5 minutes with a goal and write down every single thing that you want in life. No caps. Don't think about limits. Don't think about where you've been. what you've done, what you've accomplished to date, how you could only double next year. You've heard from some of the speakers on stage. I mean, again, Dan started at 8 homes. Last year they sold how many? 700, 800. Veronica at 1,400. She didn't start that way, right? But you have to have that vision. So mindset's everything. Recognize that anything's possible. Identify your big why, right? Or your big my, depending upon, which one you align better with. So identify what you're doing this all for. Again, it's not for the money, right? Money gets demonized. It's not necessarily for the money. It's for what the money buys you. It's for the freedom. It's for what you can do. It's for what you can leave to your family, the life you can give your kids, the health care you can do, the person that you can help in your life that doesn't have what you have that you can bless with your resources. That's what it's about, right? So find what that is for you and make sure that it's in front of you on a regular basis. Next step, stay in alignment with whatever that is. There's been several speakers up here talking about it, but if you get out of alignment, it doesn't feel good, right? If you get out of alignment with what your actual why or your my is, right, you may be successful, but it's not going to feel good with what you're doing. And then focus your energy. So the trick that I do for this is a vision board, right? And this is what one of my mentors within the apartment investing world taught us. At each conference, he goes through this scenario. And so I'll show you what mine looks like. So for us, I know mine. Mine are very easy. Faith, family, friends, freedom. That's it. 4Fs. Super simple. And if stuff doesn't align with that, we don't do it. Now, do we run afoul of that every now and then? Yeah, we do. And it doesn't feel good, right? And then we try to find our way back into it. So visualization at the top, if you're ever going to do this, the tactical piece of this, if you want to do this, this is my desktop on my computer. Tasha has a different one, right? She's got a different vision board. And so what we do is super simple. Go on Canva, figure out what your desktop resolution is, create a Canva canvas that's that exact resolution. Go start taping, putting your photos up there. You don't have to cut out of magazines anymore and all that stuff and have something ugly up on the wall if you don't want that. That's fine if you want to do that. But there's a simpler way to do it where everyone else doesn't have to see it, because I know we don't necessarily want all our friends to see all the inner workings all the time, right? Put it on your desktop. You're going to look at that desktop probably 100 times a day as you flip back and forth between programs, right? And then a pro tip on that one is take a snippet of that, because only a small piece will fit, but take a small piece of that that's the most important to you and make that your home screen or your lock screen for your phone. Because you're going to open up that lock screen probably about 500 times a day. Right? So now, even though you're not going to read it each time, your mind knows what it is. So you're subconsciously telling yourself over and over and over again, this is what's important to me. So for us, we put stuff on here, as you can tell. So we don't have kids. You won't see our kids up here. You do see our nieces and nephew down in the lower center, though. We have our car up there, which was Tasha's dream car, which we've been able to afford through this business. Again, not trying to demonize money or nice things. They're nice. We all work for money to be able to barter for other things, right? But on the left, we have travel. Travel is very important to us. So I don't have to write travel, right? Just put photos of it. I've got my faith, family, friends on there. I've got my faith on there, right? Because that's very important to me. Again, cars, some quotes that are important to me, passive income goals, and then goals for the apartment doors, which we've exceeded. And by the way, we haven't hit all these, obviously. This is my 2021 board. I've still got to make my 2022 board. We've just been really busy. But these remind me all the time of what's important to us. And so now I have my guiding parameters to stay in alignment, right? All right, so next I want you to create your guiding parameters really quick. We're going to do this exercise probably 3 minutes. So the first minute or so, I want you to close your eyes, if you will. Participate with me here. Close your eyes and imagine your perfect day. Okay? And this will extrapolate out in the future into your perfect week, your perfect month, your perfect year, and your perfect life. But imagine what your perfect day looks like. Are you waking up early in the morning going to the gym? Or are you not a morning person? If you want to sleep in, that's fine. You don't have to be like everyone else, right? This is your perfect day. Are you spending time with friends, family, or by yourself? Maybe you need the alone time to recharge. Are you having breakfast with loved ones? You driving a nice car around, going up in the mountains, you packing to go on a trip, sitting on the porch at your house drinking coffee, watching the birds. If you're a bird lover, that's awesome, right? What is your perfect day? Now, as you transition to the afternoon, what are you doing? You have friends over, Family, are you working? For some of us, that's work. And that's okay too. Right? If you recharge, if you get energy, if you get satisfaction from work, and that's part of your big why, include that on there. And then as nighttime comes around, what are you doing? Where are you at? What house are you in? What city are you in? What do your finances look like? Are you financially free? Okay. Open your eyes. I want you to take 2 minutes, and I want you to write it down. I'm going to ask someone to share. So I think we need to be vulnerable. I'll share mine. Love to hear what someone in the audience has. Okay, 30 more seconds. All right, for those that aren't done, keep writing. Those that are, I need at least one brave person to share. You want to share? Go for it. And I'll get you.
My dream day is waking up in Maine on the water in cold bed sheets after sleeping in. And then after that, I drive my white Ferrari over to Baltimore. And y'all may say, why Baltimore? But I like street photography, and I want to take some pictures, walk around, enjoy the city, meet new people, interview people, take pictures of them. And then once nighttime rolls around, maybe go to a bar, meet new people, go out, make new friends, take pictures, and then after the night's over, drive my white Ferrari through the mountains and just listen to good music.
Awesome. Very specific. Love it.
I've thought about it before.
Okay. So I challenge you, when you get home, create a vision board, put that up there, and then create stuff to go around that will get you to that spot if you're not already there. Okay?
That was like very specific. Okay, so my perfect day, I'm having would be to wake up next to someone I love, and I know exactly what house I would be in. I can see it in my mind. And we would drive down to the lake and spend the whole day on the water on a boat and until like sunset, and then come off the boat and watch a Marvel movie all together in the movie theater in my perfect house that I know
Awesome.
that I love, go to sleep with someone I love, hug my kids good night.
Okay. Anyone know what was missing from that or hear what was missing? Anyone? Who said it? Thank you. For neither one of you, work is your dream day, right? Same? Okay, besides the street photography, but that's probably more of a hobby, right? Okay. So then the question is, how do we get there? Right? I think that's why we're all here. How do we build that business that we want, that can run without us, that can create income, that can create, again, the money that's evil, whatever, that can create the life that we want, that can bless others to have the life that they want, right? And so I'll walk into some of that stuff here in a minute. So, words of wisdom, Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, right? The second one's you're already doing, right? Making an investment in yourself. You're here. Conference wasn't super expensive. Travel wasn't super bad. But realistically, you're 3 days away from your business plus travel days, right? So unless you've got levels of automation at this point with VAs, which most of us do, but not all of us, and I'd highly recommend that you do that if you don't, right? Justin's company is great. We've got 3 through him. But coming out to conferences, investing in yourself, and the speakers up here have been amazing, right? But it's not necessarily about the speakers. It is the takeaways that you get, but it's the people that you meet in these rooms. There are conferences that I continue to go back to. One of my mentors in the apartment investment world, Rod Cleef, I've been to his conference 5 times now, twice virtually, 3 in person. I go back time and time and time again, not because the educational material changes. The panels do change, which is great, but the people in the rooms change, and it's different connections I can make to help bless them and so that they can help bless me, right? It's a reciprocal agreement. We're not doing this one way. So we feed into each other's lives, and that's through the connections that you make at these events. The next one, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work till you die. Again, I didn't hear work in either of yours. There may be work in some people's in this room for your perfect day, but for most of us, even if we enjoy our work and it's a passion, it is not the passion in life that you would do if you only had one thing to do. For most people, that's friends or family, right? Travel, likely with those people. And so that one's key. You know, we've got RevShare with NEXP, we've got some other stuff, that's available, but in reality, at EXP, despite being called a recruiting company, about 10% of EXP agents earn any form of revenue share at all. So we're not a recruiting company, right? 90% just sell homes. You didn't know? Yeah, so going within, we're one of the top influencers, we're at the bottom rung of the top influencers, whatever, but we get insight into all that information, right, from recruiting and bringing people in and helping them build. This is our organization, Freedom Builders Global Alliance, again, being in alignment with what we want. I want to travel, so global. I want to partner with people. I also want tax write-offs. So as I go to other countries, I want to travel to visit my partners and write off my trip to the maximum extent possible, right? Military guy, so freedom's very important to me. So that's why that name came about. There's a genesis behind the logo and everything else, but that's our organization for our alignment. All right, so one of the speakers the other day touched on this. I won't spend too long on this, so I don't go too far over. I will go over a little bit. But linear income versus residual passive, 4 quadrants, Robert Kiyosaki, cash flow quadrant, right? All of us, if you want any form of freedom whatsoever, you should be aspiring to get into the passive income side. So business owner, where you have people leverage, you're not just self-employed, you're not just hiring yourself. An investor, where your money is your employee 24/7, doesn't complain, doesn't quit on you, doesn't need benefits, right? And just creates more income for you. And you'll see as you start to do that, and as you start to invest in yourself, that it snowballs. It's just like everything else in life, time on task over time. Investing is no different. Compound interest, that's all that is. Time on task over time. All right, so traditional teaching. Again, I come from a family, not a lot of money, had to do ROTC to get a scholarship to go to college. I do have one family member that has a lot of money, but doesn't necessarily share money or knowledge with the rest of the family. His mindset, and it's fine, it's his mindset, that's okay, is that he had to do it alone and grit and suffer through it, so everyone else should too. You can all figure it out. I take a very opposite approach of that, right? I think knowledge is meant to be accumulated and shared, not locked away. That's why all the speakers are up here contributing, right? They've been blessed, someone else has blessed them, they're passing that on. Whether that's from a faith perspective, which it is for me, or if it's just from a business perspective, right? None of us got to where we are today by ourselves. I had a lot of struggles in life. There are a lot of things I have done on my own, but I had a lot of help along the way with other people talking me through situations and everything else. Perseverance is probably the only thing that we can attribute just to ourselves. That decision to keep going. That is an us thing. But other people still feed into that too. So on this one, traditional teaching. Everyone should go to college. That's traditional mindset, right? Now, in this room as realtors, we don't need to go to college, right? And quite frankly, if I had a do-over, if I could press that reset button, I'd go back, I wouldn't get the college education I got, I wouldn't have spent the money on the degree, computer engineering, which I've never used in the Air Force, by the way, writing software, right? I wouldn't have done any of that. I would have gone into what's my passion today, which is real estate, motivational speaking, wealth building, helping others, right? So traditional teaching, college, job, save money, invest that money in the stock market, retire at 65 or older. Hope your money's still there. By the way, without tax penalties, you can't touch that money till you're 65. Anyone know why this is the traditional teaching? Any clue? Keep people working. We need it within society. Lobbyists, right? So all the big brokerage companies and everything else, they make money by you trading. All the financial managers, they make money by holding your money. No one teaches you really about the alternative investments because there's not a ton of money to be made there by them for sharing information with you. That's what I'm going to share today. All right, so creating additional income streams, you got a few choices. There's more than this, but business leverage, go get VAs. If you don't have VAs, go get VAs. Again, highly recommend Justin's company. Courses. So he talked about this, creating courses and the Accelerator Plus and all that stuff, helping you get recurring revenue. That's an option. Revenue share for EXP or any other company that you're involved in. That's an option as well if you can get ownership. And then real estate. So real quick for real estate, show of hands, who owns rental properties? Okay, get them out in the room. Who has short-term rentals? Okay, that's great, and the numbers are awesome until what happens, like the previous speaker was talking about, if they change the rules. Right now you can't short-term rent. Who has apartments? Okay, 1, 2. All right. Who wants apartments? Anyone know how to get apartments? No? Okay. You want to know? All right. All right, so why residential versus commercial? Just breaking it down real quick. You ever heard the term, don't put all your eggs in one basket? Right? Okay. Old adage, good knowledge, right? Residential real estate is great until it's not. And the reason that most of us go after it, and again, I'm not demonizing it. It's an aspect of the industry we definitely need to be helping our clients invest in, and you should have a diverse portfolio even within real estate. So having both is great. The issue that I find with residential is while the financing is easier, right, which is why most people get into it, typically you have one door for most people. You have one set of tenants, single person, family, whatever, one rental income, and if they stop paying, you're out of luck. You're holding the bill, right? Now in California, for the past 2 years, and still, they have COVID eviction moratorium. So your tenant can stop paying, claim that it's COVID related, not even necessarily have to provide a lot of documentation on that, stop paying your rent. You still have to pay the mortgage, unless you have a lender that was willing to do deferments, and even if they do, now that's added onto the back and interest and all that stuff, right? You're footing the bill. You might lose your asset. Your credit might get hit, but your tenant's fine. They're living rent-free. What incentive do they have to pay you, right? Now, California came down and they said, okay, we're going to give money to landlords. That was like 6 months in. We're going to give money to landlords because we understand landlords are hurting. They need to be able to keep their property, et cetera. I'm here to tell you that a lot of the cities in California still haven't figured out how to distribute that money a year and a half into those policies being in place, so the landlords still don't have the money. And the landlords are still footing the bill, right? So for us personally, unless we're doing owner-occupied loans for our investor clients that we have, for our VA, for that type of stuff, we don't do single-family homes in California for that reason. Commercial. A little bit different, too, for commercial. Your residential, right? What do you pull up when you go to do a sale? Comps, right? For your sellers. And so your market is driven by what the most recent home in the community is sold for. There's not a ton that you can play off of that. You can over-upgrade and all that stuff, but it's not really going to impact value too much. You're really driven by what the market is giving you. On the commercial side, you're driven by cap rate and net operating income. So if you don't know those terms, your cap rate is basically the rate at which the investment returns money with no debt associated with it, so you can normalize looking across investments, right? Your net operating income is your income that's left over, your residual income, after all the incomes come in, and you've paid all your expenses prior to your mortgage. Okay? So you're going to have an NOI. And so as you walk through this, the beauty about this is, assuming the NOI stays the same, or maybe it compresses, it gets lower, which is better for you, you can actually force appreciation on commercial apartment buildings. All right, so I try to cut these down as much as I can. I'm a big numbers person. I'm an extrovert, but I'm a spreadsheet engineer, right? So weird breed. I like spreadsheets. I understand not everyone else does. But for us, for example, when we started going through this, the reason we pivoted from that triplex in Jacksonville that was doing well was because when I looked at scalability, even with the triplex, it didn't make sense. Once our income thresholds, and I did those, exercises rods event, I went, okay, at some point for me, from financial freedom, absolute freedom to go anywhere, anytime I want, with whoever I want, whenever I want, I need $1 million a year. That's what I think I need. Well, to get that, I need $83K a month. Okay, cool. How do I get $83K a month? So you back that out all the way, right? And using traditional wisdom at $200 a door, for me, that was 417 doors for $200 a door per month. That sounds maybe doable, right? Portfolio loans, everything else. The problem is you got 417 tenants, 417 ACs, 417 insurance bills, 417 tax bills. Anyone ever had a tax bill come in higher than you want it to be and you have to contest it? Right? Anyone gone through that? Cool. Imagine doing that for 417 properties. Not going to happen, right? So unless you're trying to buy your way into another job in retirement, if that's not in your vision board for what you want to do, right? There's other ways to do this in leverage. And for us, there's a ton of stuff in the commercial real estate space. You can do offices. You can do triple net leases. There's a bunch of different stuff you can do. But for us, I go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Shelter is one of the top. And so people will always need a place to live, right? In COVID times, we learned that companies move out of big areas, so offices got hit bad. Apartments actually did better. And so for me, when I look at it, the average cash flow per door, et cetera, it's a lot more scalable, right? And so it's anywhere from 10 to 100 times easier to scale on the apartment side than it is on the single family side for the same numbers that you want, depending upon the size of the apartment buildings that you're buying. Single investment scenario, just really quick. This is putting 100K in one time. Sample projected returns. Nothing's being offered today as far as investments. But sample projected returns, 8% annual passive income, 18% total annual rate of return. That includes your deferred equity upon sale or refinance. You can take $100,000 investment with some deferred gratification, which we are not good at in the United States. Okay, but with deferred gratification to get what you want, you can be 15 years down the line, 5.4x your money and have 29K a year passive income coming in. If you wait 25 years, you're at 12x your money and 65K a year. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's off $100,000 investment. So what happens when you do it many times over? And this is what we do, right? So if anyone wants to talk to us about it, happy to chat about it. But invest 100K to start with, invest 100K each year. Pledge to put that money in each year, right? Your projected returns going through that, at year 7, you'll have about 50K a year of income coming in that you'll actually start taking. Your equity in your property will also continue to grow. So as you cycle through properties and they trade out and the value goes up, as long as you put that extra equity back into the next properties, right, you'll hit 150K in year 11, and you'll have about $1 million of remaining profit, remaining equity left in the property. So the advantages, real quick, distributions are passive, typically monthly or quarterly, so you can create revenue like I was talking about earlier, right? Current tax law, and this is changing, this year is the last year right now, unless they change it, where you can take accelerated and bonus depreciation and get up to 100% write-off of your money that goes in, depending upon the investment. So if you're a real estate professional, obviously consult with your tax attorney, right? Because it varies everywhere you go. But if you're a real estate professional, you're not necessarily limited to that 25K passive write-off. You may be able to write off $600,000 of business income if you invest enough money. That allows you to kick it down the road, and the idea of compounding interest and everything else, if you write off that $600,000, you save $100,000, that $100,000 now in 5 years should turn into $200,000. Well, what happens in 5 years when you got to pay that off? Cool, you've got $200,000 now, you pay the IRS their $100,000. You still got $100,000 left you would have never had. Now, if you leverage that out and you do that on a scale with $1 million, whatever, that obviously goes a lot bigger. So a couple different syndication types, just run through them real quick. 506B can take on sophisticated investors up to 35. You do not have to be accredited, which is the definition on the bottom. 506C, you have to be accredited, but you can go out and just make blanket marketing on Facebook. Sources of funds, IRAs, 401ks, home equity line of credit, refinancing your primary residence, high cash value life insurance, and obviously money that's in the bank or money coming from your business each year. If you're an S Corp, once you pay yourself, right? All right, so previous investments, just real quick. Not offering any deals here. Again, don't have relationships with everyone. That would be in violation of SEC laws. But this is one of the deals that we invested in, $13.6 million purchase. Anyone in here have $13.6 million to buy an apartment building? Raise your hand. No? Cool? Okay. There we go. So the way that you do this, right, is you buy small fractional ownership. And the way that you're not buying yourself another job is you're not the one running it for these types of deals. You're investing passively. Now, to go back to another speaker's comment, you have to give up control to regain control or to gain control, right? You're giving up control of your money at this point. But so are you if you invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, anything else that you don't have control of, right? So you have to give up that control. Now, the advantage is, unlike single family at this point, you're not dealing with tenants, toilets, and termites, right? Unless you guys enjoy that stuff, you should be in property management, but you're not dealing with that. So you literally have to vet the syndicator. That's the biggest deal in my mind, is vetting the sponsorship team, making sure they know what they're doing. A great sponsor can take an average deal and make it great. A bad sponsor can take a great deal and make it horrible. So you want to make sure that you're not losing your money, right? That's primary focus number one. Focus number two is creating passive income so that you can have the life that you want and create that snowball effect so that you continue to have money coming in while you're out traveling, while you're out doing whatever you want to. So this is one we invested in 2.5 years ago. It's on the market now. I don't know if it's going to sell because obviously the market has changed a lot with interest rates. I don't know if they're going to sell it or just keep it and continue on with the cash flow that we're getting. But if they sell, we're targeting around a 2x return. We've had it for 2.5 years. Anyone in here want to double your money in 2.5 years? That sound good? And then do it again and again and again? There are ways to do that where you don't have to be the one working for it. So I didn't stumble into this till 3.5 years ago. That's why I'm here sharing it, right? We were in real estate. I had no clue this stuff existed. I figured driving down the road, hey, that's big corporations that own that, or super wealthy family offices, and that's it. And while those are a big component within the apartment world, they're not the only folks.
Are you paid monthly? So you're getting a monthly federal rent?
Depends on which distribution. Yeah, it's out of the cash flow, right? Most deals have what's called a pref, so a preferred return. That's what the limited partners, the LPs, get paid first before the GPs make a penny on the cash flow. Now, most GP teams, you're going to see they'll take an acquisition fee, usually anywhere from 1% to 3%. That's their money to get the deal closed, right, for all the work that they're doing. That's how they're getting paid back. They'll typically take an asset management fee. Some will take a finance fee, so when they refi, there is a lot of work with that. Some take a disposition fee because there's a lot of work. So you got to look at each one, right? Just like with essentially these are LLCs that you're buying shares of that own the apartment buildings. So just like with any business you would go look at, there's a million ways you can write the LLC, right? Estates at Cypress, $57 million purchase, 530 doors, 8% preferred return, 9% projected annual cash flow, 2.1 equity multiplier. So that means in a 5-year target hold period, if we put 100K in, we're expecting 210K back total. That's attractive to me. I'm not doing any work other than vetting the deal sponsors, which are my friends, by the way, right? Because this is the world that I'm in. So once you get to know these people that are your friends, you obviously know, like, and trust them. You want to do business with them, right? And so knowing that sponsor is important. But literally, I sent a check. I said, cool, I like your deal. I like the area. I think it's going to make money. Here's my money. Send me back money as you have partial returns on cash flow. And when the deal sells, I want a big check, right? Works out pretty well. Another one, so a growth fund. This one owns about $180 million in apartments. 7 or 8 different apartment complexes within it, so it's diversified within the fund itself. There are funds like this out there. $45 million raise for the overall investment. The rest was financed. 1,400 plus doors. That's how we got into 5,600 plus doors, which was our goal. So we have to reset that goal, but our risk is currently mitigated over like 7 states, 15 apartment complexes, 5,600 doors, right? So I don't feel it when one tenant doesn't pay their rent. They're recapitalizing this now, so they're actually selling this deal to their own fund for new investors and then going out and buying new assets, and it's recapping at a 2x rate 2 years in. So I like that.
Do most of these deals have minimum?
Yeah, so most deals, it's a $50K minimum investment for most of them. Some of your funds that you can find out there will allow as little as like $5K. But usually what that is, and we're looking at possibly starting one of those again because it's the world that we run in, right? But that's to lower the barrier of entry. Obviously, the person running the fund has to make some money, so usually they're either going to skim part of the return, right, as theirs, or they would take an upfront fee. I prefer to take part of the return if we're going to build it, because that way we're only getting paid if you get paid. I don't really want to take money on just bringing money in, right? Because then regardless of performance, you're losing money. And that's traditionally how the stock market works, right? Your finance managers, they lose you money. It doesn't matter. It's a percentage of what they've managed for you every year. I don't like that model. So this is my contact info and Tasha's TikTok as well for us for real estate. I'll give you my personal cell as well if you want to reach out, ask questions, text me, whatever, get on an email list for apartments. So it's 310-667-1475. And then for the questions that we have, I know I'm over time. I think I've got just a few minutes left. Any burning questions from the audience? Yeah. Yeah, so DSTs are, really, they do have a component of this to it. They're another alternative, though, to 1031s as well to defer your taxes as you go about your exchanges. You can do 1031s into these as well. But, yeah, some of it has similar aspects. There are definitely some differences to it, though. So these are, if you look at it, what you're buying here is you're buying shares in an LLC. Typically, the LLC is set up specifically just for that property. Okay. Tenants in common. So TICs are a portion of how you would do a syndication if you wanted a 1031 money in. The difference is a TIC is actually untitled, right? So a tenants in common is actually entitled for the property. For these, for example, let's say Cypress. They set up Cypress LLC. It's a brand new LLC, right? The LLC owns the property. There's going to be Class A shares, Class B shares. Typically, you'll have the general partners are Class A, right? And the LPs will be Class B or vice versa. And so you'll get a buy-in as LPs to get ownership. The GPs will typically have a decent amount of money in the deal, usually 3 to 5% of the overall money, but they're not bringing the lion's share, right? They found the deal. They're going to operate it. They're going to do all that stuff. That's how they get paid back. The investors are bringing the money for the down payment and the rehab, and then the bank's bringing the rest, right? But you can do TICs on some of them. Usually the TIC threshold, if you're wanting a 1031 money in on these types of properties, is anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000. So it takes a lot for them to set it up. Yep. Anyone else? Nope, I'll get you. Go ahead back there, and then I'll get you here. So we had the triplex. I went to a meetup in Manhattan Beach. We live in Hawthorne, and one of the guys there said, "Hey, you expressed some issues with the triplex that you're managing. We're having financing issues. We're trying to refi because it was held by 2 LLCs. So not commercial property, but treated like commercial, right?" And he's like, "You need to go to this meetup in, I think it was Atlanta." It's like, "You need to go to this. It's next month." He mentioned, Rod Cleef, who's one of my mentors now, one of my coaches. "You need to go to his meetup. Check it out. You're going to love it. It's apartment buildings." And I was like, "Apartments? What are you talking about?" "Oh, yeah, you can buy small pieces." And the funny thing is, he was one of Rod's coaching students. Now he's a coach. And he was challenged by Rod to do meetups to impact more lives. That's how we stumbled into it. And so that's why I'm giving back and trying to share as well. Hold on. I'll get to you, Karen. Go ahead.
What would be the biggest alarms if you were getting a sponsor looking at a syndication?
So for me, I look at their experience level first, right? Have they done deals like this before? Are they willing to? So I'm a numbers guy. I like to look at the underwriting since I underwrote apartments, right? Typically, I'll ask for the underwriting myself to go through the Excel sheets and look at what their scenarios are, because when you look at an OM, which is their pitch deck, right, you won't see all the detailed formulas. You're going to see their high-level spreadsheets, right? And so big pieces on that you should be looking at if you're looking at deals and you actually look at the spreadsheet is you want to look at what's called the reversion cap rate. And so that's your cap rate that they're expecting to exit the deal at, right, that they're going to sell it at. Now, we've had a great real estate market, right? And so cap rates have compressed over time in most markets, which means even if you just did the same operational performance on the property, the value went up, just like residential, right? And so you want to look at that. Your typical cap rate that you should see when they're looking at, let's say it's a 5-year hold period, you should see anywhere from 0.1 to 0.2 of cap rate increase per year of hold. Because as you increase the cap rate and you keep the NOI the same, your valuation is going to drop, right? So they got to account for that with operational efficiencies, increase in NOI, et cetera. So I would look at those two things first. I would ask for their past deal experience. I would see if the sponsorship team has been together for a while. That's not to say that they can't do great things if they haven't, right? Like one of my friends just partnered up with another big sponsorship team, and they're doing amazing. They both did amazing before. So you would look at what they did before. But a lot of it's just past experience. You'll also want to do a deep dive into them a little bit on the personal side, right? Most of these people you can find on Facebook. Go see if you resonate with them. This money is not liquid, right? So you can't sell this like the stock market. When you put money into it, you're in for the long game. You're until they sell, right? So a typical deal, you're in for 5 to 7 years. Look at it like a marriage. Can you be with this person for 5 years? Because they're going to be the person sending you money and watching over your money, right? So you got to make sure that you can at least align with them somewhat, that their values aren't way out in left field compared to where yours are. Again, going back to the alignment statement, right, that you're living in alignment. So there's plenty of deals out there. You don't have to align with operators that you wouldn't align with otherwise. I'm sorry, we had one here, and then I'll get to you. Yeah, so all of this, so for us, our money that goes in is hard cash that goes in, right? So ours isn't finance. When you invest, you got to save about 50 to 100K to plop in, right? As far as the deals themselves, typically it's one of two ways. Time for one more. Okay, thanks. It's one of two ways. It's either agency financing, which is just like Fannie, Freddie, right? And so you're going through that, you have a certain threshold that you have to meet, or it's bridge loans. And so typical requirements on properties like this, if you're going to get agency financing, is you have to have 90 for 90. You have to have 90% occupancy for the last 90 days minimum to be able to qualify. If you don't, typically that property is going to be taken down with bridge debt. Bridge debt's basically a balloon loan, usually at a 7 to 10 year period. So you have to refinance it within a period of time. It's also at a higher interest rate typically than agency debt. Yep. There's one in the back. What's that? A little less. Yeah, so for us, what's our position on these? So on all of ours that we're in, we have LP stake in all of them, right? We put, even if we're on the GP side, we put money in on the LP side as well. On 2 of them, we have GP shares, if you will, and actually it's 4 at this point, because we either underwrote the deal or we put up money on deals. And so 2 of them I underwrote the deals. The one that's going to likely sell for a 2x return was one of the first properties I took down with the syndicator that I underwrote. So I did all the financial analysis on, and it's looking like we're going to 2x returns in 2.5 years. So, okay, absolutely. I got told that I got to jump off the stage. So any other questions, just hit me up on social. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.